what's going on? It's Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined by Tyler Sprinkle. It's officially baseball season. No other meaningful football is going on.
Nope.
College football wrapped up. We have national champions, first year of the expanded playoffs, new coach getting the national championship for the first time. So a good underdog story over there in Ohio. So we'll talk about that. How are things going, Tyler?
Could be better.
Also,
things are looking up for the Mets, though, so that's good.
Are they going to keep Pete Alonso?
I don't know. Steve Cohen basically told Pete and Scott Boras to go fuck themselves the other day at Mets Fan Fest, so I'm here for that, though. He said, and I'm not quoting word for word here, he basically said that this is so much more exhausting, negotiating with Pete Alonso and Scott Boras than it was at all for Juan Soto. Basically said he's made met so many of their demands where they keep asking for more and more and more, whatever it is. And Steve Cohen basically just said, fuck you guys. Have fun and better learn French Canadian, buddy, you piece of shit.
I love it. I mean, I don't love it because it means that Pete Alonso is probably gone, but I love somebody finally sticking up to that piece of shit.
I don't know, man. He doesn't have the market that he thinks he does, so he's trying to make one. Like in years past, the Mets would have outbid themselves or bid with themselves, rather.
Yeah.
Steve ain't not doing that shit, And I think there's a small part of me that still thinks Pete will be a Met, and I want him to be a Met. But dude, if you don't want to be here, see you later, man.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot less pressure now that the Mets did get Soto to bring him back. So it's like we'd love to have Pete back, but also if we don't, we got the pieces that we want.
Yeah, I mean you're losing like 40 home runs and 230, hitting 230 in the lineup. And I don't mean to downplay Pete because I love him and I think he's an outstanding guy and player, but if you don't want to be here, man, sorry. See ya.
There's the door.
Yeah. Kind of like how you feel about
the transfer portal.
I mean, I won't hunt Pete Alonso down and root against him every single turn, but I feel you.
I think you'll appreciate the growth. I was gonna put together like a graphic of all the players I'm rooting against. Now this is bad taste when I'm making a graphic about teenagers that I hate.
Hey, email me that.
I pulled the plug on it. I mean, we went over it last time. Hate watching Tony White for sure. I don't have any qualms about hating on that motherfucker.
Speaking of that, sorry to interrupt. Jim Leonard, right? We were talking a lot about Jim Leonard.
Yeah.
I totally forgot he was on the Broncos staff.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. And sounds like he's going to be, right after Vance Joseph. If he leaves, then he'll be the next guy up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because I was really, and if it wasn't, I would just love to be a fly on the wall in his office because at one moment it looks like he's going to be the head football coach at Wisconsin, and then if not, and then it looked like for a moment he was going to be the defensive coordinator at USC. Then he ends up landing as like an analyst for some middling Big Ten team, and then now with the Broncos. I'm just curious, like what his career path looks like. Like, what do you? Well, I got to imagine he could have been a defensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, but apparently Sean loves him a lot and is doing everything to keep him. I think it comes with some promises like, hey, this is for sure Vance Joseph's last year with the Broncos kind of thing.
Interesting.
To get him to stay. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I love him. I hope he sticks around forever. And it would make sense. I mean, I guess a lot of Broncos coaches, I mean, not like coordinators, but like assistant coaches are really getting kind of picked off, especially by that motherfucker in Chicago.
GM. Yeah, Ben Johnson going after us.
George Payton tree is expanding. Shout out George Payton.
Fuck you. It's kind of an easy sell, though, I think, in my mind at least. Like, yeah, you can go to Jacksonville and run the defense there, or you can wait 1 year and get a fucking supercar as a defense and just basically not to do anything. Let the defense run itself. Then you're looking in a couple of years, head coaching candidate. Like,
That's a really good way to put it, because I feel like so much in the coaching world, it's like, well, you got to take your shot while you can, and that's why you see guys
yes,
kind of taking jobs before they're ready. But when you have Sean Payton as your head coach, like, you don't have to worry about that as much.
yeah.
So, yeah,
But you were saying you hate Tony White. Yes.
do hate Tony White. Boy, I would have loved for him to be the Nebraska defensive coordinator, Jim Leonard. But yeah, I mean, the way that you laid that out, I wouldn't take that job either. I mean, I love Matt Rule. I think he's going to do a great job. I think he's going to be here for as long as he wants to be here. But that's still not Sean Payton kind of job security. So I get it.
Yeah, and he already has his foot in the door in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, a majority of these guys in college are fighting to get to the NFL. He's already here. So why
yeah, he'll always be able to come back to college and do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And he's fairly young, right? Like, he's 40 something. I think he's pretty young. Let me see.
Especially in the coaching world. I mean, the Raiders just hired a 73-year-old head coach.
He is 42.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he play for the fucking Broncos too? What the fuck?
I don't know. I'm not too familiar with what his.
He did. He played one season for the Broncos.
Oh, that rocks.
Wow. He played 10 years in the NFL? What the fuck?
No
How do I
shit.
not know anything about this guy? Oh, well. Shows how much I know ball, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is that he's not the head football coach at Wisconsin, and that's probably for the best.
For him, yeah. For Wisconsin, probably not. I'm still willing to give Luke some time, and I know we'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm still willing to give him some time. They like look okay in spurts, and they just look so bad. So I'm willing to give him some time.
Yeah, I don't think it's the thing that worries me about Luke Fickell is that their schedule this year is Sean Callahan described as the schedule that gets coaches fired.
Yeah,
because I mean, 2 back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons at Wisconsin. I mean, even with the context of somebody trying to build something totally different and tough schedule and tough breaks, tough quarterback health. I mean, back-to-back years is tough.
Like, it's impossible to take a team that has had this identity for decades and then first year just flip it on its head. Like, it doesn't work. You got to work with what you have and slowly transition as you go to give your team a chance to win. He just ripped the Band-Aid off right away and decided, fuck this. This is my team. I'm running it how I want to.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the opportunity that I'm sure he's looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what he got to do, what he had to do with Cincinnati, and it worked out pretty well for him. So, but yeah, when you come into a place with such an identity, that's so tough to overhaul it. But hey, you need time, and coaches don't get a lot of time these days.
I think he'll have a decent amount of time. I think they'll be patient with him. With that being said, though, if he has another stinker of a year, a 5-7, 4-8 season, it might start to warm up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to go to war for. But I'll take it. I mean, maybe, he can come and be like a wide receiver coach in Nebraska. Who knows? see what life could have been. Could have been like
everything. Everybody's everything. Just put it on Nebraska.
That's right. Well, I mean, we've seen coaches do that. They go from head coaching jobs to coordinators. Chip Kelly at Ohio State. Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III going to Florida State. We've seen it happen. I mean, I guess they were both kind of on their way out, but
I just think that they don't like the way that college footballs are run now. So they're like, I want to be a part of it, but I don't want to be the guy running the show. You can take care of all that shit. I'll coach like I wanted to in the first place.
Yeah. Win for those guys. Yeah, that's a tough gig, but college football wrapped up, national championship game. Ohio State wins it. As a show, we were very high on Ohio State early. Picked them as one of our preseason favorites as a show, where it's a team effort. So we don't want to, point out any individuals, but it's a team effort. Are you surprised?
No. I was surprised how the game started, though. Like, it looked like it was going to get real ugly real fast.
Mm.
And then Notre Dame just kind of stuck around. And then it kind of got up to a blowout again. There's very large waves in that game.
I mean, it was a one-score game with Ohio State, third and medium. An opportunity to give Notre Dame the football back.
And then
not that I mean,
play zero coverage or cover zero and get burnt.
I love that play because I thought there was no shot that Ryan Day is going to call anything other than halfback zone. There's no way that he's going to do anything other than and that's I feel like part of his problem, especially this year when he's trying to play a certain style of offense. But when you kind of sit back and realize we have Jeremiah Smith, we can kind of do whatever we want. And that's exactly how you win that kind of game.
Well, the cameras didn't really catch this, but I was on the sideline for the game. So right when the play was called and they broke the huddle, Ryan Day wrote on a board and turned it to like the skybox area, and it said, "Fuck you, Lou. Watch this shit." So if only Marcus Freeman would have seen that, then maybe they would have known. But
then also, even if you do know, you can't stop Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. Well, maybe put two guys on him at least.
That might get a little bit difficult for him.
Yeah.
But overall, college football season's toast. First year of the expanded playoff. I'll say I thought this was a hit. I thought this was a nonstop hit. I love the expanded playoff. I love how it was structured. I love getting to see new teams like Indiana and Southern Methodist University, Arizona State get real shots at competing for a national championship. Great, and then there are blowouts because there's blowouts in every playoffs system in every sport in the world. And I'm enjoying it while it lasts because it's going to change at some point here soon, and it's going to be a Big Ten SEC Invitational, which is a bummer. So enjoying it while it lasts, but I thought it was a smash home run. I loved every minute of it.
It was fun. And more football is always better than less football. I don't understand how people can be upset about it.
Yeah,
dude, who gives a fuck? Who cares? You're either benefiting it because your team got in, or you're watching this team play thinking, oh, maybe next year or 2 years from now that could be us. But instead you have a big old dump in your pants, your fucking diapers full. Like, geez Louise.
Like, the one sentiment that I've seen quite a bit is, well, the Michigan-Ohio State game meant less. Okay, dude, there was 25 other college football games that mattered way more than it would have last year.
Yeah.
So, the game means a little bit less. Sorry, Fox is probably going to get a little bit smaller viewership on that. Maybe, but
it doesn't mean less, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to those players and say, oh, this game meant less, didn't it? No. Everybody's going to say, no, the fuck it didn't.
They almost had to rewrite the Ohio legislature after that fucking game. That's how much it means. And same thing for, the Iron Bowl. Like last year, that Auburn almost upset Alabama. That would have kept them out of the playoff. That's cool. But there's 50 games that have that kind of weight to it this year that did not last year.
Fucking big old dumps in their pants.
Like, especially thinking like the Big 12 race, how that came down to the very last game of the season. And 4 teams had a chance to get to the Big 12 championship, which means 4 teams had an opportunity to get to the playoffs. Like, that's so cool. I love every bit of that.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know why. It just adds more parity. Like, I can think, what was it, 10, 15 years ago when Alabama was fucking winning it every year? And people are
Alabama, Clemson every single fucking
year. There's no parity. Well, you got parity now. Everybody has a shot. But now that's not good enough anymore.
That's so good for college football. And like, there's so much parity, the NIL and the transfer, and they need tweaks. It's not perfect, but I mean, Indiana, went to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Arizona State went to the college football playoff. Like, it doesn't. Every team now has hope that you just get the right guy in, and all of a sudden you're competing for national championship. That rocks. That's so cool. I love that shit.
Yeah, I do think that they should probably add like take it out of the hands of the commissioners for the conferences and just have a regular schedule for all these teams. Like, you're playing this many conference games, this many out of conference games. This is when you can schedule your out of conference games, things like that, to make sure it's a level playing field for everybody. But other than that, I don't see really anything wrong with it.
You're absolutely right. And that's why I bang the table so much for conferences like the Big 12, because if it was up to the commissioners, now the SEC and the Big 10 get to swing their big dicks around and call the shots. And now they're going to lobby for a playoff system that includes 4 auto bids for each league. But if we get opportunities where the Big 12 matters again, the ACC matters again, like, giving those conferences weight is good for everybody.
Yeah, it's always an interesting game to play with you, though. How fast can you make me hate the Big 12?
Yeah.
I think we got 14 and a half minutes in before I started hating the Big 12. So, we'll have to start benchmarking these.
I mean, I love the Big 12, and I'll go to war for it. And also, like, the Big 12 champ almost knocked off the SEC champ, so let's not forget that.
Yes, they did.
And I see a lot of sentiment around, and again, people just with poopy pants on Twitter, like, talking about how much of a disaster it was to have teams like Arizona State and Boise State getting first round buys. Like, the NFL doesn't have that same kind of structure. Like, yeah, the NFC South stinks, but they get a home game. Like, that's just how it goes.
That was a good game, though.
That was awesome.
Real blowouts this year were the Broncos, Bills. Would you say the Texans, Chargers? I don't think I would call that a blowout, because that was kind of a late, lead extension to make it kind of a blowout.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Those are really the only blowouts.
And blowouts are okay. Like, they're gonna happen. Like, that's sports. Like, just because, and we were getting blowouts in the 2-team BCS era too. So it's not like this is a new concept.
That's true.
But I've said this from the get-go. I think this is the perfect system. If you want to reseed after the first round, then fuck it, whatever. If you want to add another round on campus, great. But I think it would be sick. But this format gives, like, if you just circle back to the conference championship games, how much more of those rocked this year than previous years? Because either admit the conference championship games don't matter and get rid of them, and then just seed the playoffs how you want to, and then you can do whatever you want with the seeding, or just let things play out. Like, conference championship games rock. The Big 12 championship, the ACC championship were essentially also playoff games. And then even in, the Big 10 and the SEC, where those teams are going to make the playoff regardless, like, getting an extra week off to prepare, that matters.
Yeah, get healthy.
Yeah.
Get everything tuned up.
Like, yeah, I get that Penn State had a much easier path than Oregon did because Oregon beat Penn State. But are you telling me that Oregon was sitting at home in the hot tub watching Penn State play whoever they played in the first round, be like, you know what, we would rather be doing that right now than sitting in this hot tub and chilling?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it didn't look like Oregon did a whole lot of work during that bye week. So,
and then on top of every bit of parity that we talked about, how cool it is to see these new brands, at the end of the day, the best team in the country won the national championship.
Yeah.
So, like, that's always going to be the case, especially when you include more teams. That's how it is in basketball. It's the same, 12 pristine teams who are always in the mix. Like, as much as we love a good Cinderella run, never actually win the national championship. You always get a national championship. You're like, okay, that makes sense for the most part, but that's how these go.
It's interesting you bring up basketball, though, because you never hear people standing on a table screaming that 64 teams is way too many. No, they love it. Everybody loves March Madness. So I don't know why this is different. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. It's a disaster, but I mean, I think that this is exactly it. It sounds like they'll be moving to a 14-team deal here soon, where the Big Ten and the SEC get. And here's my issue. So the proposed format, and they floated this around a little bit last year: 14 teams. SEC gets 4 teams. Big Ten gets 4 teams. ACC and Big 12 get 2 teams, and then at large for the final 1 to 2 spaces for teams like Notre Dame and whatnot. And it's built into that the Big Ten champion and the SEC champion get buys, which I hate that that's built in because you don't have to. That's almost always going to be what it is anyways. And I mean, the Big Ten got 4 teams in this year, and they didn't have this, I don't know, written into the system to, limit things out. And that's how it plays out anyways, because the Big Ten had 4 of the best teams in the country. I hate the thought of just pigeonholing these other conferences into you only get 2 bids. You're never going to be allowed to get a bye. Just for the likes of the Big Ten, the SEC. That's where we're heading, so I'm just enjoying it while it lasts.
Yeah. Smile because it happened. Don't cry because it's over, or whatever the saying is.
But yeah, outside of the Cotton Bowl ticket fiasco,
dude,
loved every minute of it. What a fumble!
What a fumble you had there.
So just to recap, I had a hunch that the semifinal tickets, particularly the Cotton Bowl, because they live in Dallas, would drop the same way that they did for the previous round. Just because how many games are you going to go to if you're an Ohio State fan? Either you're going to go to the first one because that one's guaranteed, or you're going to hold out and see if they make it to the national championship and go to that one. But those 2 games in the middle, who knows? And that's exactly what happened. Tickets started at like $200-$300, and then the weekend happened, and then they dropped down to, I think they got down to $85, and I was like, at $75 when I'm pulling the trigger, because I also thought with the inclement weather that Dallas was getting that it would go down, would take another dip. Did not take another dip, and then shot right back up to $300 plus. And so I had to sit at home, watch that game, and which was cool. But then, seeing that Jack Sawyer's hoop and score, I was like, I would have sold my car for this. Hindsight, I definitely would have sold my car. No, what's happened since then. I would have sold that motherfucker just to be in the building.
Yeah, you fucked up, man. Hand up.
Hand up. That's on me.
There you go.
Be more aggressive going next year.
See that.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to circle back to, because now, so Ryan Day wins the national championship as the head football coach at Ohio State. Do you view him any differently now that he's actually won the big game?
I don't.
That seems crazy.
I know it does. He did. I don't know. And this sounds so stupid, so just hang in there with me. I feel like he was just a benefactor of a fantastic, fantastic roster. Like Lou Holtz could have ran that team to a championship. So, and
you're not wrong, but to this, it's also 8 years in now. Like these are all his guys.
Yeah,
like, this is his team.
Did you see? I don't know if this is real, but I read today that Ohio State operated a $37 million deficit this year. Where do you think that $37 million is coming from?
Man, that's gonna be something to watch.
Hey, if you want to pay for championships, go for it, baby. I'm never gonna be mad at you. But I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Wow, you're such a great coach," because you're able to get all these guys to come to a powerhouse program and also pay them the way you did and won a championship. Like that's fine.
But they're also not the only one with a mega expensive roster. Like Oregon pays up the wazoo as well.
I would love to see the numbers for them as well. Because I think if I saw that and I was able to compare, like, oh, yeah, Oregon operated at like a $28 million deficit. Is the $9 million that much? I don't know. But now, all I know is Ohio State had a $37 million deficit.
I mean, there's a happy medium, I'm sure, where it's like you got to spend a certain amount, but you also have to get it done.
Yeah.
And so that deficit, is that just for the football program? Is that for the university? Is that for their NIL team?
I think it was for the football team.
Because what what sneaky nobody really understands about Nebraska is how well built they are financially. They're one of only a few schools with zero debt, or athletic programs with zero debt. They are able to find profitable women's sports as well. So like volleyball and basketball, of course, does well on the men's side. And so when it comes to a world where the schools are going to be dishing out $22 million now, Nebraska's going to be in a spot where that's never going to be an issue. And especially when they're now finding new ways to generate revenue. They're going to get rid of the season ticket grandfathered in rates. They're going to start selling booze at Memorial Stadium. So they're going to tap into more revenue on top of their already fiscally healthy repertoire.
They're going to start using everybody's phones in the stadium to mine crypto when they're connected to the Wi-Fi.
They'll figure it out. If we can get an extra offensive tackle.
Actually, cut that out of the podcast. I got an idea for Nebraska.
Okay. I'll leave that for the live stream viewers. It's a little tidbit. The other thing with viewing coaches is that it's hard not to look at Ryan Day any differently because Nick Saban's gone, and there's not a lot of coaches that have that high end success. There's Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney, who have won multiple national championships, and now there's Ryan Day and anybody else that I can think of. It's all a bunch of coaches who kind of have that can't win the big game label.
Yeah. Sark is coming around on me. Who else? I mean, James Franklin is definitely in the camp where he can't win the big one. Dan Lanning is a very impressive coach to me.
I love Dan Lanning.
He just seems more like a football guy than Ryan Day does. So maybe that's why I respect him a little bit more.
Yeah, is it because of how he looks is why you can't respect him? Because I get that.
Maybe a little bit.
I get that. It's also funny because Mike Norvell was also in these conversations last year of like up and coming superstar coach, and then he wins 2 games.
Yeah, dude. Did you see that Florida got more inches of snow than Florida State did wins?
That's unbelievable. Like never in my wildest dreams could I have envisioned Florida State being as bad as they were.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
It's so funny.
My favorite thing in the world.
And it's great because Nebraska's been the primary blue blood team to get pointed and laughed at recently. But even Nebraska at our worst, we never went 2-10.
No.
We weren't ever that bad.
No. Don't
so now we're able to. I mean, boy, if we go 2-10,
heads are gonna roll.
Oh, what a disaster! But I didn't want to circle back coaching wise because at the beginning of the year we did a kind of some would you rather's, and Ryan Day wasn't one of those if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of wanted to revisit those because at the time, like with you and Brooke, like they were pretty unanimous, and like I tried to play devil's advocate for a little bit, but didn't feel one way or the other. So just circling back to these, would you rather have Sark or Dan Lanning?
Dan. I think that was the sentiment before as well.
That was. Very much was. And I think those guys.
Sorry, before you move on, I think that Sark is taking strides to even that a little bit, but I would still take Dan Lanning.
I'm right there with you. And I just think it's so interesting because those guys feel like they're on the same trajectory. Like they're both pretty new at their established program. They're knocking on the door of one of those national championships, but just haven't gotten there yet. You think that they will, but who knows? But yeah, either or. Another one, James Franklin or Dabo Swinney. I think this is the one that the needle has moved a little bit.
I would take James Franklin just because he seems more able to adapt to what college football is now. Because, I mean, you've heard Dabo talk all about, I hate the transfer portal, shouldn't be paying kids, blah, 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 this, that, or the other. So I think just in that aspect, he's going to be able to survive the onslaught of college football a little bit better than Dabo will be.
And that's a fun one to me because if you're just box score reading, like, oh, Dabo's got 2 national championship, he clears. But if you're a college football fan, who would you rather have as your head football coach? I think you're right. I think it's James Franklin. Not to say that Dabo Swinney isn't a great college football coach, but yeah, the trajectory of those 2 programs, I think, is pretty telling.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Ryan Day or Dan Lanning?
Dan Lanning. Pretty easy. Again, I don't give Ryan Day enough credit for sure. But I just told you why. I just kind of went on a rant about why I don't respect him as a football coach. So
that's fair. So I guess let's pull on the thread a little bit. Would you rather have Mike Norvell or Ryan Day?
Ryan Day.
There we go.
Yeah.
See, we're starting to find some.
Yeah,
some
we're finding the middle ground here.
Would you rather have? Trying to think of some others, like a Matt Rule comp.
I do want to say that I do think Ryan Day is like a top 6 coach. So I don't think he's like the worst of the worst, but I don't think that he's up there with some of these guys.
How would you rank him? Actually, before you do, I got one more for you. Would you? And I'm going to add some context to this one. You're the athletic director of a blue blood college football program. You have a head coaching vacancy. You have a good your blue blood program, money out the wazoo, like Nike found oil on your campus, and the Saudis are involved. Whatever, you have unlimited funds, so you can get just about anybody that you want. Before you pick up the phone, Kirby Smart calls and says, "I want to be your head football coach, but you have to say yes right now." Do you take Kirby Smart or do you play the field?
Yeah, I'm taking Kirby Smart. Yeah. That's a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to worry about the player safety a little bit, but
a little bit. Got to start lobbying for some lighter driving restrictions. So I guess some extra context. Now, I'm also thinking of this in the sense that you also get to build like an ideal staff if you play the field. So it's not just the head coach, but you also can poach head coaches for coordinator positions. Like, is there a staff that you could physically put together that would be better than whatever Kirby Smart would put together?
Probably not. And I wouldn't want those boundaries for him anyways. Like, I want him to bring in the guys that he wants to bring in, not, oh, you have to have this guy here. You absolutely have to have this guy in place.
Because the situation that I think of is that if you're Oklahoma, if you call Lincoln Riley, tell him to come back as your offensive coordinator, things aren't going well in Southern California. Brent Venables, he's national championship defensive coordinator. Let's move you back to the defensive side of the ball. Let's get big game Bob back in here. Let's let him run the show. I mean, boy, he's fantastic on the trail. Just let him be CEO. Like, do you take a staff like that over Kirby Smart?
No, because at that point, I feel like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, it worked because it seemed like he was absolutely just done with college football head coach. So it was easy, like an easy transition for them. Whereas, yeah, you're saying that they're okay with it, but they still want to be head coaches.
Well, so how I would sell it is that, okay, well, Big Game Bob's only going to be there for a few years. Lincoln Riley, I have a hunch he doesn't have that dog in him. So, he gets paid $5 million a year to call plays for, 5 to 10 years. He gets a statue out in Norman for winning 4 out of 5 national championships. And eventually you hand the keys to Brett Venables to be the head coach. Sounds like a good gig to me. Sounds like something that there's a world where it's
a disaster. Yeah.
It could be.
We're living in that one.
That could be it. Okay, and I thought of my last one: Lincoln Riley or Ryan Day. And this one's so good to me because they are the same person.
Yeah, they are. I
The
guess
only
I would go
difference
with,
is that Lincoln Riley went and tried to build another program. And
yeah, I guess Ryan Day, just because he won a national title. I guess that's the only real difference between the two. So
I'm right there with you. I just wonder what could have happened if like Lincoln Riley just stayed at Oklahoma, because he was also born on third base. Nobody tags
mhm.
him like that because he's trying to rebuild USC, but obviously not having the same kind of success. That one's fascinating to me. Okay, yeah, really just trying to find any scenario where you would pick anything else over Kirby Smart. And does it sound
Yeah,
like there is much out there?
no, it would be an interesting conversation to have between Kirby and Dan Lanning, which would be my 1 and 2. I think I would still lean Kirby. Yeah, I would still lean Kirby there, but you could potentially talk me into Dan Lanning being number 1.
I'm right there with you. I also think and I'm sure this plays a factor in it subconsciously. Dan Lanning's so much more charismatic than Kirby Smart.
Yeah,
I was like,
he is.
that's a big deal.
Dan
Okay,
Lanning
so
doesn't look like a fucking gopher.
knows how to get a good haircut.
Yeah.
Or his pants are like just a half a size too small.
Hmm.
Yeah, but not too small, but he gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it. All right. So then after those two, how do your coaching rankings fall?
Okay. I'm kind of high on Sark.
So let me just give you a list of the highest
Yeah, I
ranked
feel like there's somebody I
or
missed here.
highest paid head coaches. So there's Kirby Smart, Dabo Sweeney, Sark, Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, Mike Norvell, Kalen DeBoer, Brian Kelly, Mark Stoops. Boy, he's getting a bag. Good on him.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkowitz, and then it falls off. James Franklin's about to get a new bag. I'm sure Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking this before you even read off that list. I like Kalen DeBoer a lot. I think he's kind of just things aren't going great for him right now in Alabama. So the world seems to be falling apart for them. So I go Kirby, Dan, Sark, DeBoer, Ryan Day. Be my top 5.
I don't have any major objections with that.
And I do like the way Lane Kiffin coaches though. So I think I'd throw him in.
I do too. I mean, I hate the pissing and crying he did on Twitter, but
Yes.
I also kind of respect that he's going to bat for his team in such a public way. Like that's pretty cool.
Actually, I'd put Dabo at 6, Lane Kiffin at 7. That seems
I like
right.
Lane Kiffin. Would you rather have Matt Rule or Kalen DeBoer? It's a trust tree.
Probably Matt Rule, just because of where we're at. Like Matt Rule is the rebuilder guy. DeBoer, outside of Washington, what he did with Washington hasn't been a whole lot of like evidence that he can do what Matt Rule has done at 3 different schools. So I'd probably go Matt Rule. But it's close.
We always talk about
it would be dependent on like where they're at as a program, right?
Yeah, I think the doomsday scenario that we're always talking about, especially coming up on this year where it's so national championship or bust in Happy Valley, that if things don't go well for James Franklin once Dylan Raiola is gone, which I think would also be about the same time that Alabama gets sick of only winning 10 games a year. So that could be a fit. That could be a fit down the road. I'll start pushing that agenda now.
I don't think Jalen Milroe was really the guy in Alabama. I think he kind of held them back quite a bit. I still like DeBoer. I still like him.
I like DeBoer a lot.
A ton of room to grow and run with that program. But I would take Matt Rule at Nebraska right now.
Yeah, I think that's such an insane situation that he's in. That I have a hard time imagining anybody really having a lot of success there. especially because I don't think. I mean, we talked about what Ohio State spends on a roster. I don't think Alabama has it like that, like the way that we would just assume that they do.
Think of it like this too. Like you're the first coach after the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban, right? It would be like being a rookie. Patrick Mahomes just retired, and you're supposed to start and continue on the legacy that Patrick Mahomes built. That's not realistic.
Dylan Raiola could do it.
Sure, he was in the locker room.
He was. He's picking out his locker already. They're like, we got to upgrade a quarterback quick. We got our guy.
Yeah.
What did you think of that, Dylan Raiola in the locker room?
He's having fun.
He's
learning more and more every day how to be more like Patrick Mahomes, which that's fine, whatever.
And I think that's fine. Obviously we hate Patrick Mahomes, but I think that it's insane. Like, and it's just because Iowa burners end up on my For You page on Twitter, but like the amount of people that are disgusted that he hangs out with Patrick Mahomes is unreal.
Yeah, and how much they call him fat and stuff. It's weird, but and then again, we were coming after Deacon Hill, so I guess eye for an eye.
Yeah, we did. Well, I mean, boy, gosh, if you just compare those two body shapes, it's not close. But I'm sure Deacon Hill's having a great time in Northwest Missouri, Avenue State, or wherever those Iowa quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah, probably mean at selling car insurance.
I love him. I love that they can't keep a good quarterback. It's cool. But it's also like they beat us with these quarterbacks. So who am I to laugh? I'm just so ready for Nebraska to beat Iowa. Because here's the thing, Tyler. Like once we get over that hump, like it's never gonna end.
It could have been the perfect year last year. We beat Colorado, beat Iowa. Could have been the perfect year.
Yeah, I never think about that UCLA game again if we beat Iowa.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up with some Husker news. Transfer portal's pretty much done, but now the teams that played in the national championship, those guys are entering the portal. Notre Dame offensive lineman coming to visit Nebraska. Rocco Spindler.
Rocco.
What a
great football name.
What a great name. Because that's really, if there is a hole that I wish that they would add another guy into, it would be offensive line. They were in pretty deep with some other guys before they end up going elsewhere. We have Elijah Pritchett. So hopefully he comes in and he's great. And also remember, like, left tackle was just such an injury hole last year.
Yeah.
That even just getting those guys back from Turner Cochran, back from injury, like that's a game changer.
I would like to pick up one more running back because I'm not really sure what that looks like right now, the depth chart for running back. I think just having one more guy would make me feel a little bit better. Yeah, other than that, just offensive line, I think we're pretty good to go.
Yeah, the only piece that I can find with the running back room is seeing how aggressive they are in positions that I didn't think were huge issues, like defensive back. Like, you think those guys take a step up, offensive line, you think we get a couple of those guys back from injury and we're just fine. But the way that they've attacked those in the portal and the way that they've not attacked running back makes me feel like they think we're good. We're fine,
that's true.
Which is a problem if it doesn't work out. Because even in the spring transfer portal window, you think you can get a guy there, but you usually just get guys who lose position battles. So I don't know how great of a spot that would be, but in Rule we trust always.
Always. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red. That's really all that I had. Dylan Raiola won the AFC Championship last week. Ryan Day's a national championship college football coach. Rocco Spindler will look great in scarlet and white. Any final tidbits on the college football season?
I hope they enjoy it because next year it's Nebraska's.
I'm trying to settle down, but why not, dude? Like
Why can't we be Indiana, man?
we could.
Good.
We could. All right. We'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we head off for another week?
Go Big Red. Go Big Mets. Go Big Bo Nix.
Go big the Broncos. Go big the Bo Nix.